The Maid who solved everything. The mahogany walls of Harrison Tech's executive floor had witnessed many late-night emergencies, but none quite like this one. Rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows as CEO James Harrison paced his office, his usually perfect hair disheveled from running his hands through it. The company's future hung in the balance, and time was running out. For 3 months, Harrison Tech's brightest minds had wrestled with a cybersecurity breach that threatened to cost the company $200 million. Government contracts, client data, proprietary algorithms, everything sat vulnerable behind digital walls that seemed to crumble faster than they could be rebuilt. The board meeting was tomorrow morning, and James still had no solution to present. Down the hall, in the company's main conference room that had been converted into a war room, empty coffee cups and crumpled papers littered every surface. The technical team had finally gone home around midnight, defeated and exhausted. The room felt heavy with the weight of their collective failure. But someone was still there. Sarah Martinez moved quietly through the space, her yellow cleaning gloves bright against the dark wood of the conference table. She had worked as a night cleaner at Harrison Tech for 2 years now, invisible to most employees who rushed past her in the hallways. Her maid's uniform, a crisp black dress with white lace trim and a small cap, was practical and professional, though it made her feel like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. As she cleared away the debris of another failed brainstorming session, Sarah's eyes drifted to the wall of monitors that still glowed with lines of green code. The technical team always left their screens on, displaying the problems they couldn't solve. Sarah paused in her cleaning, her cloth hovering over a coffee-stained notepad. The code looked familiar, too familiar. Sarah glanced toward the door, listening for footsteps in the empty hallway. Hearing nothing but the whisper of the building's ventilation system, she set down her cleaning supplies and approached the main workstation. Her heart raced as she pulled out the chair and sat down, her gloved hands hovering over the keyboard. During her lunch breaks, when she thought no one was watching, Sarah often sat in the company library, teaching herself programming languages from discarded technical manuals. She had a degree in computer science from a small university back in Mexico, but her credentials weren't recognized here. Cleaning jobs paid the bills while she slowly, secretly, tried to rebuild her career. The security breach wasn't as complex as everyone thought. Sarah could see it clearly now, the patterns hidden in the chaotic mess of code on the screens. Her fingers began to move across the keyboard, muscle memory taking over as she navigated through layers of corrupted data and compromised firewalls. She worked with quiet intensity, her breathing steady and focused. Lines of code scrolled past as she identified the breach points, traced the intrusion paths, and began building elegant solutions that would not only stop the current attack but prevent future ones. The yellow cleaning gloves looked almost absurd against the sleek keyboard, but her hands never hesitated. 20 minutes passed like seconds. Sarah barely noticed when she began typing with more confidence, her movements becoming fluid and sure. The monitors around her flickered as systems came back online, security protocols locked into place, and corrupted files restored themselves from her carefully crafted recovery algorithms. She was so absorbed in her work that she didn't hear the footsteps in the hallway. What the hell is going on here? Sarah's hands froze over the keyboard. She turned slowly to find James Harrison standing in the doorway, his expensive suit wrinkled from the long day, his expression shifting from anger to confusion to something approaching wonder. For a moment, neither of them moved. Sarah's face flushed with embarrassment and fear. She had been caught where she didn't belong, doing work that wasn't hers to do. She started to stand, already formulating an apology, when James stepped further into the room. "Wait," he said softly, his eyes moving from Sarah to the monitors surrounding them. "Don't move." The screens told a story that James could barely believe. System after system showed green status lights where there had been red warnings for months. Security protocols that his team hadn't been able to implement were running smoothly. The breach that had threatened to destroy his company was not only contained, it was completely eliminated. "You did this?" James asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, unable to find words. She expected to be fired, possibly arrested. Instead, James moved closer, studying the elegant code that filled the screens. This is brilliant," he said, his voice filled with awe. "The way you've restructured the entire security framework, My team has been trying to solve this for months. I'm sorry, Sarah finally managed to say, her accent making her words careful and precise. I know I shouldn't have touched anything. I was just cleaning, and I saw the problem, and I thought maybe. You thought maybe you could fix a $200 million security breach in 20 minutes. James interrupted, but his tone held no anger, only amazement. Sarah looked down at her hands, still wearing the bright yellow cleaning gloves. In my country, I was a software engineer. Here, I clean offices. But I never stopped learning. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. James studied the woman in the maid's uniform who had just saved his company, seeing her clearly for the first time. How many nights had she walked past him in these halls, invisible and unnoticed, while carrying the solution to their biggest problem in her brilliant mind? Sarah Martinez, he said, reading her name tag. How would you feel about a career change? The board meeting the next morning was unlike any in Harrison Tech's history. James stood before the executives and investors, but he wasn't alone. Beside him, still wearing her maid's uniform because it was the only professional outfit she owned, stood Sarah Martinez. Ladies and gentlemen, James began, his voice strong with conviction, I'd like you to meet our new Chief Technology Officer. The room erupted in shocked murmurs, but James continued. Yesterday, while our entire technical team struggled with a problem that threatened our company's existence, Sarah solved it in 20 minutes. She didn't just fix our immediate crisis, she revolutionized our entire approach to cybersecurity. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nervousness. I've prepared a presentation showing how we can not only protect Harrison Tech from future attacks but also develop these solutions into a new revenue stream for the company. As Sarah began to speak, her expertise evident in every word, the room fell silent. The woman in the maid's uniform commanded attention and respect with her brilliant mind and innovative solutions. 6 months later, Harrison Tech's cybersecurity division had become the company's most profitable department. Sarah's office sat on the executive floor, with a view of the city skyline and a team of brilliant engineers working under her guidance. But every morning, as she walked past the custodial staff beginning their shifts, Sarah made sure to greet each one by name. She never forgot that brilliance can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, the person who can solve everything might be the one everyone overlooks. In a world that often judges people by their uniforms rather than their minds, Sarah Martinez had proven that genius doesn't always come dressed in expensive suits. Sometimes, it wears yellow gloves and works the night shift, waiting patiently for its moment to shine.